For the 2025 season, the Detroit Lions are still considered as Super Bowl contenders, but they're also a storm that's getting ready to be unleashed and bring the NFL to its knees. And I'm going to tell you exactly how they're going to do it, so stay tuned.
What are we? What makes us what we are and what we're going to be? It's grit. It's what we started with last year, guys. It doesn't matter if you have one ass cheek and three toes. I will beat your ass.
Can definitely compete with the big dogs.
10-5 end zone touchdown Detroit Lions.
You guys are unbelievable, man. I'm telling you.
We are driven by Detroit.
Hello, Detroit Lions friends, fans, and family members. Welcome on back to yet another episode of MCM Motor City Mania. I'm your host, David T. Pike. And as always, we're getting ready to dive on in. So folks, as my thumbnail image states, as my title states, the NFL is getting ready for the 2025 season. And obviously for that season, the Detroit Lions are still considered as Super Bowl contenders. But when it comes to this upcoming season, the Detroit Lions don't just have this high expectation put on themselves from fans, from the media, but obviously they also have it from themselves. They have a lot of expectations for themselves. I mean, when you take a look at the Detroit Lions this year and what they've got upcoming, it's very much like the last 2 years. The goal is to win a Super Bowl. And as we already know, the Lions have the roster, they have the talent to get them there. But for me, I also think, I believe, that the Lions also have a secondary goal, a sub-primary goal, that they also want to achieve opposite of this ultimate goal of winning a Super Bowl. And for me, what it is they want to unleash themselves onto the NFL, putting down all the doubters and all the haters so far that they can never speak another ounce of crap against them. And this upcoming season promises to be the perfect opportunity for the Lions to do just that. Now, some may think that I'm a little bit drunk on the Honolulu Blue Kool-Aid. And honestly, I've got something to say to all that. I'm not. And the reason why I'm not is because I recognize that this team is blessed with arguably one of the most complete and one of the deepest rosters in the entirety of the NFL. Now, the reason why I believe this is because this roster is perfect for enacting this ass whooping that I'm talking about here, where the NFL is just going to absolutely be, unable to stop this unleashing, this unbridled, unmitigated amount of, destruction that is coming its way. Now, why do I think that? Well, first, let's analyze one part that I hold as a huge reason as to why the Lions will come back this year and not only do so brilliantly, but also do so with an unrelenting amount of vengeance. And quite frankly, it comes down to this simple point. It's because of doubt. Now, it's not doubt in the Lions themselves, because what I'm talking about is the doubt of the NFL, the doubt of the haters, also, obviously, the doubters. I mean, think about it. It ain't wrong to think just yet. Consider most of the team has had doubt thrown on them from someone or something. And in a lot of cases, it's still being, put out there. Case in point, when you take a look at a lot of the members that are associated with the Lions, you can find it just about anywhere. When it comes to Jared Goff, you've got people that still think he's a system quarterback, that he actually is just a byproduct of the system. They actually want to question whether or not he's good. When you talk about Gibbs, when he was first drafted, he was deemed to be too high of a pick for number 12, and that, the Lions had just wasted a pick on him. When it comes to Amon-Ra St. Brown, everybody goes back to the fact of that he was drafted in the 4th round. And sometimes there have been people that questioned whether or not he could compete at the NFL level. Now, obviously, that was a couple of years ago, but that doubt has continued to fuel him. You talk about Jameson Williams. There have been constant doubters. There have been constant haters that have looked at supposedly, quote unquote, his attitude, his inability to express all the things that they're looking for him when it comes to the Detroit Lions. And then they talk about the run-ins that he's had with the law or the law enforcement. And then obviously going back to when he was drafted, the ACL tear. Then you talk about Aiden Hutchinson. There are people right now that want to actively doubt and question whether or not he can come back from the injury he sustained last year against the Cowboys. You talk about Terry and Arnold. There were people that wondered whether or not he was going to be another Jeff Okudah and that he's too handsy. He's not able to play at an NFL level. You talk about DJ Reed, about the fact that he's too small. He's not worth the money the Lions invested in him. They should have stayed with Carlton Davis because he's a better fit as far as size. You talk about Kirby Joseph, about the fact that he's a dirty player, that he goes after opposing offensive players and intentionally goes to try and injure them. You talk about John Morton, the fact that he is of limited experience. He's not good enough to be an offensive replacement for Ben Johnson. You talk about you talk about Kelvin Shepard, about the fact that he has no experience at defensive coordinator and that a lot of people view him as an Aaron Glenn carbon copy. Or you talk about Dan Campbell, about how he's just this rah-rah Neanderthal guy who doesn't understand the NFL, that he's just not smart, that in fact he's dumb and that he's too aggressive. So when you think about it, there are tons, absolutely tons of Lions, both players and coaches, that specifically who have had to hear from these doubters and haters why they can't do what they're able to do, whether it's this, that, or the other thing. And you know what this does? You know what this entails? It builds resentment. It provides fuel. It provides fire, and it provides a desire for those Lions that are constantly under, scrutiny, under constant doubt and, hate from people that just don't like them. That, you know what? You know what that gives them? It gives them a huge-ass chip on their shoulders. And not only for the Lions players and coaches that I just mentioned, but for the entire organization and team itself, who have long been doubted and disrespected. And what that provides is the motivation that you cannot find or get anywhere else. So this doubt, this constant scrutiny, it flames a competitive fire that few can match in terms of teams. But when you take that fire and then you add the talent that the Lions have along with the grit culture that Campbell has instilled, it makes it damn near impossible to fight or overcome. Because the Lions do not just rely on a single player or concept to push themselves through situations where others would fail. Rather, they rely on their own collective willpower and strength of spirit to overcome and destroy virtually anyone who comes and gets in their way. In fact, so far, there's only been two things that have really stopped the Lions. And that's themselves in terms of making dumb decisions or having dumb game plans, or their coaches just, decide to sabotage them. Or it's been the injuries that the Lions have sustained, specifically from last year. Now think about this, folks. Again, it ain't wrong to think yet. It ain't against the law yet. When you consider each of the three losses that the Lions had last year, the Bucs, the Bills, and the Commanders, what exactly I said is 100% true. The Bucs, dumb decisions, mistakes by the coaches. I mean, for crying out loud, we decided to throw the ball, 50 plus times that game? Why the hell did we not hand the ball off more to Gibbs and Monty? They were absolutely tearing it up. You talk about the Bills. It was because of the injuries. We couldn't stop the Bills' offense because our offense was absolutely rolling. Then when you take a look at the Commanders game, it was a combination of both. Our offensive coordinator had checked out. We had all these injuries. We couldn't stop the Washington Commanders. Because when you think about it from that perspective, otherwise the Lions have virtually dominated and destroyed all of their opponents. Because, think about this, last year the Lions were the number one scoring offense in the NFL with 564 points. They only gave up 342, which was ranked 7th. You want to know what their point differential was? It was a whopping 222 points. That was number one. The next best was the Eagles at 166. That's a 62-point differential right there. That's absolutely bizarre just how big of a difference between the point differentials of those teams is. And then when you do the average, the Lions scored on average 33 points a game last year, when they only surrendered on average 20 points a game. Think about that. That's almost a 14-point differential in terms of the averages. That's 2 touchdowns almost. And when you think about it, all of the Lions' wins last year, only 4 of them were by less than a touchdown. And that's the Vikings, Bears, and Packers, and the Texans. So think about that. Now, I know some are going to say, oh, well, that's all fine, great, grand, and glorious, David, but that doesn't explain to us how our defense is going to somehow fall into this fantastical viewpoint you may have about the Lions and what they're going to do. Okay, let me just show you this. Because everyone's going to say, well, what about the edge rushing problem? What about the offensive line getting worse than what it was last year? Okay, once again, I'm going to provide all of the reasoning that you may or may not need. First and foremost here, when we talk about the offense, we have to talk about Jared Goff first and foremost. Take a look at what Goff did last year, just from the entirety of the season. He was second in the NFL in completion percentage, second in the NFL in pass average per throw, second in the NFL in passing yards, fourth in the NFL in passing touchdowns, third in the NFL in passing touchdown percentage per throw, second in the NFL in passer rating, and sixth in the NFL in QBR. As I've stated before, I'll say it again. That's top 5 numbers. Jared Goff is a top 5 quarterback. You can argue it, you can dispute it, you can try and say that I'm clouded by misjudgment, but I'm not. When you put up numbers like that, you be a top 5 quarterback, whether you like it or damn not. Then, let's move on to the next point here. Let's take a look at how Jared Goff does in terms of, when he's at home. Again, I've talked about this before, but I haven't gone into the rankings. When you take a look at how Jared Goff last year was at home, he was number 2 in the NFL in completion percentage, number 1 in passing yards, tied for 5th in pass average per throw, tied 3rd in passing touchdowns, ranked 7th in passing touchdown percentage per throw, and ranked 3rd in passer rating at home. I mean, again, when Goff is at home, he is just an absolute machine. He's a surgeon. And that doesn't even include how damn well good that Goff has been while he's been on the road this year or last year. When you take a look at how Goff was last year on the road, number 2 in the NFL in completion percentage, number 4 in passing yards, number 1 in pass average per throw, tied 4th in passing touchdowns, ranked 2nd in pass touchdown percentage per throw, and also ranked 2nd in passer rating. So not only was Goff last year a machine, a surgeon at home, he was also a machine, a surgeon on the road. And then obviously everyone's going to be like, well, David, that's all fine, but, we're going to be playing a lot of games, outside this year. Again, as I've stated before, you take a look at how Goff was last year outdoors. Goff had completed 76% of his passes outdoors, had almost 785 passing yards, almost 9 an average a throw, 7 touchdowns, which was for an 8% touchdown percentage per throw, no interceptions, with a 129.2 passer rating. And then obviously the cherry on top of all that is just how damn surgical Goff is when it comes to play action passing. Last year, Goff was number 2 in the NFL in completion percentage off of play action, number 1 off of play action. In terms of passing yards, tied 2nd in pass average per throw, tied 2nd in passing touchdown, ranked 4th in pass touchdown percentage per throw, and ranked 3rd in passer rating off of play action. I mean, it doesn't matter if Goff was at home, doesn't matter if he's away, doesn't matter if he's outdoors, doesn't matter if it's play action, doesn't matter if it's just general stats in general. Goff is a top 5 quarterback. Learn to live with it. Now, that's Goff. But with Goff, there's much more to this. Again, why does Goff do as well as he does? Yes, obviously he has the talent, but he also has a great supporting cast around him, which every great quarterback needs. When you take a look at what makes Goff so good, it's obviously the receivers. It's obviously the offensive coordinator. It's obviously the team in general. But the other thing that does very well for Goff is the fact that he has such a great running game, which helps out immensely. And obviously, if we're going to talk about the running game, we have to go back to Jahmyr Gibbs. Jahmyr Gibbs last year, even though he was tied 11th for rush attempts, he was ranked 5th in rushing yards, 3rd in rushing average, tied 1st with rushing touchdowns. He was also ranked 7th in first downs picked up. Picking up a first down freaking 28% of the time that he touched the damn ball. When you've got a running back that's that damn prolific, that damn electric, that damn explosive, with a quarterback that it doesn't matter if he's away, he's home, he's outdoors, and the fact that play action off of the run game is so damn deadly, you're going to cause a lot of headache for opposing defenses. Now, I can talk about all the wide receivers and, weapons at wide receiver that the Lions have, which clearly they have quite a great deal of. Obviously, there's Amon-Ra St. Brown, there's Jameson Williams, there's Laporta, there's Tim Patrick. The Lions have a lot of damn weapons. There's no secret for this. And obviously, I've talked about them before. But what makes this really work for the Lions is their offensive line. And I know there's some Lions fans out there that are particularly worried that the offensive line is going to prove to be a weak point this year. Again, I don't think that's going to happen. Again, when you take a look at the offensive line last year, I'm going to put it up in an Excel spreadsheet. When you take a look at how each individual starter did, save obviously Zeitler, who's no longer here, so I put in Mahogany at right guard. The only weak point from last year was Glasgow. And obviously everyone's saying, oh, well, he needs to be replaced. He's no longer good. He's getting older, blah, 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 blah. Okay, understand something here, folks. Just because a player has a down year does not mean that all of a sudden they're just going to completely be a horrible player. People have down years. It happens all the time. I have no doubt Glasgow's going to jump back. But when you take a look at Mahogany, who's replacing Zeitler, he had numbers that were very similar to what Zeitler had last year. Now, again, it was a small sample size, but the fact that as a rookie, he was able to come in and play so well, that ought to be very encouraging for Lions fans. So for those that are really worried about the offensive line, y'all need to back the hell up, and you need to actually understand. We still have Hank Fraley. We have one of the best running back coaches in the NFL, actually in football right now, pretty much anywhere you look. The Lions will be just fine with their offensive line. They always have been. Hell, go back to 2021 and 2022. How many different offensive line combinations did we see with different guys coming in and out of the lineup? And we were fine then. We're going to be fine now. So stop tripping about it. Which then brings us to the defense. I know everybody and their brother is worried about the damn defense. But again, when you take a look at how the Lions defense did last year, despite having 16 different players on IR just from their defense alone, they finished 5th in the NFL overall according to PFF in terms of grading. They finished 12th in terms of run defense. They finished 2nd in the NFL in tackling in terms of grading. They finished 8th in terms of pass rush for grading and 7th in terms of coverage. And that was all sporting all those injuries. And again, we were still ranked 7th in points given up. And that was with all those injuries. So let's understand something here. Despite the fact that this defense was a literal walking damn mash unit, this defense was still playing for the most part at a top 10 level. So what exactly y'all worried about here? That's my whole point. For those that are so worried about our offensive line being weaker, and that's going to be a major deterrent for our offense, or the fact that the defense is not going to be able to rise to the occasion this year, you all be tripping. You all be worrying for nothing. The reason why is because let's think about this here. We still have the draft that's upcoming at the end of the upcoming month in April. I know I said that wrong in my previous episode. I do apologize for that. For some reason, I've always thought that the beginning of April is when the draft is. But think about it. In the draft, we're most likely going to get another top-end edge rusher. paired opposite of Aiden Hutchinson, which brings me up to Aiden Hutchinson. There are those that think that Aiden Hutchinson's not going to be able to return to form because of the injury he sustained. Wait a minute. Time out here. Let me take you all back to when Aiden Hutchinson was in college. In 2020, Hutchinson suffered a season-ending injury, breaking his ankle when the Michigan Wolverines were playing against Indiana. He only played 3 games that season, recorded 0 sacks. You want to know how he bounced back? The very next year, he played every game that the Wolverines had, which was 14. Oh, and how many sacks did he record? That's right, he recorded 14 sacks. So he went from playing 3 games and got 0 sacks to all 14 games and getting 14 sacks, including having 2 games where he got 3 sacks each. So don't try and tell me, do not try and say that Hutch is not going to be the same player. If anything, what history has proven in the past is that when he gets injured, he comes back better and stronger and more freaking vengeful in terms of his ability to be the best player on the field than what he was the year before. So if Hutch is going to come back better, Holmes is likely going to draft an edge rusher with the first round pick that we have. The defense is going to be healthy. We're bringing back virtually all of our starters on offense and defense. So, again, what exactly in the hell are you so worried about? That's why my title is the way it is. That's why my thumbnail image is the way it is. The Lions are getting ready to unleash a storm of vengeance that the NFL is not ready for. They know last year they should have gotten to a Super Bowl. They know last year they should have won a Super Bowl, just like the year before. But if not for the damn injuries, they probably would have gotten there. I truly 100% believe it. And with the fact that the Eagles have lost so much on defense, and that the Eagles are probably the best competition that the Lions have in the NFC, maybe opposite of the Washington Commanders, I believe the Lions are going to do just fine. So for those that are so worried, for those that are so, anxious about what this upcoming season is going to be, you need to pump the brakes. You need to trust Brad Holmes. You need to trust the process. You need to trust the players who literally have invested all of themselves into this, who truly believe not only in themselves, but in Dan Campbell and everything that they've built. You need to have some faith. You need to have some trust, because I'm telling you this right now, what the Lions are about to bring in 2025 is going to absolutely be an unmitigated storm of disaster for just about anybody they play. Again, that's why I'm saying I would expect that the Lions are probably going to win 13 to 14 games this upcoming season. Because again, you don't know how the schedule is going to break out. You don't know what injuries are going to be. But again, I have no doubt in my mind the Lions will bounce back just fine. They will still be a Super Bowl contender. We will probably win another division title. We may even get a second first-round seeding this year. So again, I'm telling y'all, chill the hell out. Trust Holmes, trust the team, trust the process. But anyway, I've presented my evidence. I've presented my case. So having said that, I'm going to end this episode and say thank you all for watching in another episode of MCM Motor City Mania. If you like what you saw, by all means, highly encourage y'all to watch the next episode. Also encourage y'all to do one of these 3 things: like, comment, and subscribe. If by chance you subscribed in the past and forgot to do so at the time, I want to highly encourage y'all, please make sure you hit that bell notification icon so that way you never miss any more episodes. I also encourage y'all, please, to share this content with your Lions friends and family members. Share it here on YouTube, share it on Twitter, share it on Facebook, share it anywhere and everywhere you possibly can. And I also want to say this: I hope and pray sincerely that this episode was to calm some fears, was able to open up some people's mind, able to get them to think, able to have them view something a little bit differently. Because that's what I truly try to do with my content. I try to give you guys the unmitigated truth, and I try to give you guys something new to think about, whether it's the first time you watch me or you guys have been watching me since the beginning. I also hope everybody has something in their life that makes them happy, makes them smile. God bless, my friends, and until the next time we meet, I'll see you all in the next episode.